Hey, what is going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're taking a look at another omnibus that's getting a reprint here soon, so I just wanted to put it on your radar before it comes out so you can grab it right up when it does, because it's a pretty good one. It is the Astonishing X-Men by Joss Whedon, so without further ado, let's take a look at the book. Here's the spine of the omnibus. As you can see, it's on the thin side, but hey, that's alright. It's a really good story, but we'll talk about that in a bit. Here's the cover of the book. I really like this one. I think it's simple, but it shows off the team in a really compelling way as well. It's an aesthetic, guys. Hey, and would you look at that? A modern omnibus that shows us the covers on the back. That's awesome, and hopefully the reprint does the same. Okay, the Astonishing X-Men Omnibus contains Astonishing X-Men number 1 through 24 and Giant Size X-Men number 1. Pretty simple run. They've also included this nice little rundown of X-Men history at the start of the book, which is nice to see. It means they plan on actually referencing and building off some source material, but it's still easily accessible for anyone. This is one of my favorite X-Men runs, and I also think it is an excellent place. Excellent. That's an unintentional pun, but I think it's an excellent place for someone who hasn't dove into X-Men to start. Either this or the Grant Morrison run, but for those who prefer their comics a little less early 2000s edgy, then I'd say this is the one to go with. Especially if you're interested in the characters of Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde, which is probably one of the reasons I enjoyed this omnibus so much. First of all, their characterization was, I thought, pretty on point for what the characters actually are and how they represent themselves. But it focuses a lot on, for those two, their dynamic with the rest of the team, but more importantly, their dynamic with each other, since there's a bit of a complicated history there from both their first appearances way back in X-Men 129 when, Emma was still a bad guy and Kitty was still just a kid, and Emma tried to kidnap her essentially, but it is what it is. But all of that kind of resolves itself in a really satisfying way by the time the story concludes. This is a classic X-Men team also in this book, guys, really. I mean, you have Cyclops, Wolverine, Emma Frost, Kitty Pryde, and then we also get the return of Colossus in here, who, for reasons that I won't say, because I guess they can be construed as a spoiler, he was away for a while. Oh, and Beast is on the team too. I always forget about Beast, probably because I don't like him that much, but he's alright in this, I guess. I'm being harsh on him, but it's not that I think he's bad in this. I just think all the other characters are more interesting, but that's just how X-Men works, right? I mean, someone else is going to have a completely different perspective if their favorite character is Beast, because the character you most resonate with will sort of automatically be the one you perceive the story through. So, we can all read the same book and to a certain degree have a unique or different perspective on it. Overall, we hopefully all root for the X-Men to succeed as a cohesive group, though. I mean, that's kind of the point of X-Men, right? Alright, that's a bit of a tangent. Let's get back to this book and let's actually talk about the story. So, there are a few plot elements in here that are pretty interesting, but one of the ones I really like that sort of exemplifies the Professor Xavier is a jerk mentality is that there's basically this reckoning with the Danger Room, and we learn that, it's a computer system, yeah, but it's also sort of gained sentience, and Charles Xavier knew about that, and instead of, letting it be, I don't know, just, free, he's been using it in, sort of slavery ways to help train his mutant paramilitary groups, right? And so we sort of get this personified version of the Danger Room that our X-Men have to go against, and it's a pretty awesome fight because, the Danger Room's like, I know everything about you guys, I can destroy you with this, that, and this and that. So it's fun to see how they tackle that problem, and I'll let you explore what else happens in that storyline because it's pretty fun. A lot of things in X-Men I find are always interesting to look back on when there's new stories coming out too. And one of them in here is sort of that we get this idea of a mutant cure that's been created. And it just, thinking about that now and thinking about that storyline today with what we know about the current Hickman run and everything, it's sort of interesting because in one of Moira's past lives, this is a little spoiler for House of X, Powers of X if you haven't read that yet, but in one of Moira's past lives, she also created a cure for mutants. And so, it's just kind of interesting to see that there are still some maybe parallels to certain things that happen in our lives existing in the X-Men universe. Pretty important to note, and maybe a lot of people don't know this, or that SWORD is an X-Men thing, but SWORD, the offsect of S.H.I.E.L.D. for space stuff, makes their debut in this book along with Abigail Brand, who runs SWORD. So if you're interested in sort of the creation of that and what their first moves in the Marvel Universe were, you can check this out. Maybe you're interested in the show coming out, or not the show. Is there a SWORD show? No, it's Secret Invasion, right? I don't know. But if you're interested in what SWORD's going to look like more in the MCU, maybe check this out and sort of get a little preview. I believe another first appearance in here is also Armor, who has quickly become a fan favorite mutant for a lot of people. So if you want some Armor content, she's also in here. And look, this book also, I just gotta say, it's got really fun dialogue. It's very comedic at times, but without being like way over the top goofy. Very naturalistic, and the interpersonal dynamics of the X-Men in relation to each other are really fun to experience as sort of a fly on the wall. I will say the artwork by Cassidy here is also phenomenal. I know this art style doesn't vibe with some people, but this is kind of one of my preferred art styles for comic books, and I think it really works for this X-Men comic, and I think the ways that he characterizes the people's expressions on the page is really suitable to the storyline. Certainly not perfect. There are some stories in this that fall a little flat for me, like there's a Hellfire storyline that it has its good moments to it actually, but overall it's kind of like, did we need that story in here? Probably not. And then, the big third act showstopper for this book is basically the X-Men teaming up with, like, the Fantastic Four and a few other Avengers. I know, like, Spider-Man's involved in it and all that. I mean, they're not really doing much of the work, the Avengers and Spider-Man and Fantastic Four and all that. It's mostly X-Men, of course, because it's their book, but they still do make appearances. Sort of just fun little cameos at the end if you're interested in seeing some of that as well play out. And like I said earlier, the conclusion is where we get some really, really nice Emma Frost and Kitty Pryde, like almost friendship, respect type relationship develop, and it's like I said, it's really nice to see. It's funny too, and I mean, you can clearly tell. I know a lot of comic book writers like her, and for good reason. She's a fantastic character. But you can tell that Joss Whedon really, really, really likes Kitty Pryde because she gets a ton of focus in this book and she gets a ton of great character development. And I'm not saying this to complain in any way. I love that. I mean, hey, if you want to give me a Kitty Pryde focused book any time of the year, yeah, throw it my way. But I just think it's funny that, like, you can really, really tell that it's like Kitty Pryde is his favorite. And as I sort of talked about, he goes back to her roots in a lot of ways in this book. With her relationship with Emma, which, I feel like I went into depth enough already, and you can explore that on your own when you read the book. And then also, since Colossus is back, and historically, Kitty Pryde and Colossus have sort of had a romantic thing. It's been on and off at times, but Joss Whedon is clearly a fan of the romantic relationship between those two, because that gets brought back in here. And it's done in a very sweet way. I know some people don't like that relationship, but here it's done well at least. And as we get towards the end of the book, we have your normal extras like covers and, concept art, etc. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you pick up this book. It's a good one. And please like, comment, and subscribe for more videos.